can tell you a lot of people are feeling a little uncertain when it comes to immigration and it comes to where we are in the conversation around deportation or, as many people have been saying, just flat out, causing terror to people in this crazy first 100 days of Trump's administration. Earlier this year and last year, we had with us Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch, who is one of the leading immigration attorneys in the country. And as I said before to her when we've had her on, she's sleeves rolled up and elbows deep in this conversation. And I'd like to welcome Kate back to Choose Views. Good morning, Kate, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Richard. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. That doesn't mean I'm not observant of the craziness that's going on around us, but I'm doing well. And like you, in the fight to do our best to stem the tide on a number of issues, but particularly in the space of immigration. I guess I would ask you the same question. How are you doing? And I hope you've received the love and the energy that I've asked everybody that follows our show to send to you because of the work that you're doing. How are you doing, Kate?
Thanks. Yeah, it's a struggle. We're seeing a lot of abuses, a lot of people really scared. And of course, watching what's playing out on the national stage is so eerie. And it's weird. It's like I had to go to my eye doctor to get my eyes examined yesterday. And it was such a, normal life thing while all of this is playing out. It's an odd thing to live a normal life while you're watching the government disintegrate.
Yeah, it is. There's so many adjectives, there's words and adjectives, 2 words that we can use to describe it. But the one thing that's consistent is that it is not necessary. This is the thing that I keep coming back. None of this is necessary. Give you the baton as it relates to an immigration attorney. We can handle and navigate immigration, but these are not means that we need to use. They're not necessary to handle this situation. And so in your work, what are you seeing? And I've asked this question of you before. What are you seeing on the ground and the work that you're doing with folks that have been caught up, if you will, or that have been targeted?
We are definitely seeing people getting detained, picked up. ICE is going to do, and I'm putting this in quotes, welfare checks on children who are in the system, but that means that law enforcement is showing up at the schools, showing up at the houses, taking people into detention, rapidly deporting people, conducting raids in certain areas, definitely going after there's a particular focus on actually legal immigrants, but those who entered the country under the Biden administration who were admitted, and they have work permits and they have Social Security numbers. But of course now they're going after, and all the students too, the student visas that are getting revoked. And it's not just the protesters. It's doctoral students who got speeding tickets. I mean, I just had dinner with a friend the night before last, and she was telling me she has 12 student visa clients whose visas were revoked. None of them had, violent criminal history, and several of them literally had speeding tickets. So it's stuff like that we're seeing. And so we're getting a lot of calls from people who are very panicked and wondering what to do.
So there's a couple of questions that people sent to me that they want me to ask you. One of which is my own question. And I saw this yesterday, and I don't know exactly when it took place, but a gentleman was getting off of an elevator, and 2 kind of masked people, as he was about to get off the elevator, they basically attacked him, took him down to the ground. He was going in for his hearing, I guess. And in the process of taking him down, they knocked over an elderly man with a cane. And I don't know if he was injured or not, the older gentleman. But it's like, are people being targeted when they're going to court to get right? I mean, this is what's troubling a number of people. They don't understand the what behind this.
It is occurring, and it does appear. I saw that video too. It's so upsetting seeing that poor man knocked over. And it does, to me, as far as I can tell. Again, they're really targeting the folks who entered under Biden. So the Venezuelans are a huge target of the Trump administration, and I can't exactly suss out why. I mean, obviously racism is at play, but most of the Venezuelans who came here were fleeing the Maduro regime themselves. You know, they're more aligned politically with the U.S. than they are with Venezuela. And for some reason, the Trump administration is really targeting them. So a lot of Venezuelans who came in under parole programs or have TPS or have asylum hearings, even if they're going to court, some of them are being picked up. And then, you know, the other sort of prominent case that came out yesterday, I think his name is Kadawi, who is one of the Colombia Palestine protesters, who is a green card holder, and he went in for his citizenship interview, you know, no criminal history whatsoever, and goes in to take his naturalization exam and gets detained, just like the Mahmoud Khalil case, the other pro-Palestine protesters. So it's like the two big groups of people are Venezuelans, people who are admitted under Biden, and pro-Palestine, and then, of course, just the student visas in general. And I think the student visa thing is because the administration has so much power over those. These non-immigrant, you know, temporary visas can just be revoked at any moment. And so they're just revoking these visas. And I think cruelty is the point. Because then it gets a lot of airplay, and then the base gets satisfied, maybe, is what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm. Well, cruelty and non-necessity is clearly there. And I talked to a colleague of mine about tariffs, and I know that this is not what you're on the call for today, but the tariffs are not necessary to fix a problem, as if there is a problem when it comes to trade. It's not, we don't need to use tariffs. In this case, these types of sort of, covert actions to go after people when they're trying to get right. That's the part that it's sort of, it's not that I don't get it. I'm with you. I sometimes find myself being kind in this space, but this is just flat out wrong. And it's not necessary to fix the problem to target people who were trying to get right. And that video just was hugely disturbing to see this older gentleman get knocked down as collateral damage, just going about his way when they tackled this gentleman who was then trying to get right. But you said something that I got to dig into, or maybe ask you to explain a little bit more. A couple times you said people that these are people that were through the Biden administration. What's the tell in that? What's going on there?
Well, so during the Biden administration, they did a few things. Like they created the parole program for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. And there were a lot of people from those four countries coming to seek asylum, you know, for political reasons, et cetera. And so this parole program and the CBP-1 app, these are the two sort of mechanisms that the Biden administration offered to calm things down at the southern border. And so people were able to apply to come legally. So there was a legal process through the parole program. They had to be petitioned by a friend or a relative in the United States who promised to make sure that they, you know, were supported while they were here. They were admitted. They've gotten work permits. They have Social Security cards. Okay, so that's one group of, you know, hundreds of thousands of people were admitted under that program. And then the CBP-1 app was an app that asylum seekers who would be sort of asylum seekers at the southern border were able to use to apply for protection and await their turn to come in. And so it was a mechanism to calm things down at the southern border and not have a bunch of migrants just, you know, swarming down there. And they were functioning systems. But the Trump administration, I think, I don't know, you know, it's like these are legal migrants who entered legally, and the Trump administration, of course, does not use those words. They call them illegal, criminals, et cetera. And I think that, I mean, it's just easy for them to go after this group of people because they've convinced everyone that all the Venezuelans are criminals. They're all here to do harm and, you know, rape and murder women. And then they're all registered in a system that can be revoked by the president. And so he does that, and it makes it look like he's doing good on his promise of protecting us, when, of course, they weren't the danger in the first place. All the studies show that immigrants commit crime at extremely much lower rate than U.S. citizens and native-born citizens. So it's not actually a danger, but Trump has convinced everyone of that.
So I have said this on the show a number of times, that I don't see the same ire, and you took the baton and said, Richard, it's because of racism. But I don't see this sort of energy being directed toward folks that we know that are here illegally for whatever reason, or they've overstayed. I mean, that's technically being here illegally, if you want to break down to the basis of the law, from Russia. And I don't see, the ire being directed to communities that are highly Russian populated to mete out the people that might be overstaying their visas and a variety of other things, or may in fact be part of some gang group that's that's committed crimes. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, I mean, there's just zero question at this point that racism is at play here. I mean, just look at the refugee policies of the Trump administration. They revoked all the funding for refugees. They canceled all the refugee applications for people from Afghanistan, who are the relatives of the people who supported our military, by the way. And the only program, the only refugee program that the Trump administration is supporting is for white South Afrikaners. That's the only refugee program that they support. So racism is for sure at play. And I was talking to someone yesterday who made a really interesting point. For anybody who thinks like, well, I'm safe, it's not me. Of course, they can come for all of us. But what she said is it's an interesting thing to think through. What if COVID were to happen under Trump 2.0? What would that mean that the Trump administration would do to Chinese immigrants or people of Chinese descent in the United States? Imagine. So anything could happen. We never know where they're going to turn their gaze next, and I think that's what's got everybody so freaked out right now. Is okay, well, Abrego Garcia, the Salvadoran man, he got sent off to CCOT, and doesn't appear that they're going to bring him back. And who's next? What's the next batch of folks that are going to be sent to El Salvador? To that point, and I wasn't going to miss this. I just wanted to talk about a couple other things first. The hot mic, if you will, of Trump talking to Nayib Bukele, the Salvadoran president, about build 5 more places and sending off what would be considered American. I mean, that to me was probably the most alarming thing. And I don't get alarmed often, but in terms of the content about this conversation is the desire to spend more American money, talk about not being efficient, to build more foreign assisted prisons, death camps, if you will. No disrespect to our any of our Jewish brothers and sisters from the Holocaust. But that to me was super alarming. It's so scary because, these are people, the Venezuelans who have been sent to CCOT, the families have been coming out and speaking about them. These are not, by and large, 60 Minutes did a whole show on them. They are not criminals. There's a few of them who have a criminal history. The vast majority of them have zero criminal history, and they were sent there because of a tattoo. And there's the one, the guy Neri who had the rainbow ribbon of autism for his little brother who's autistic. Like, he was sent there, and the gay hairdresser. I mean, these are people who's and this is it's not as if we just deported folks to this other nation. That's the thing we have to also keep in mind. We're sending them into these. It is an extermination camp. There is no sentence that you serve and then you get out. It's a life sentence, and now they're just blatantly stating, okay, well, U.S. citizens are next, and we've seen there's no due process. They're not sharing any evidence or proof that they are actually checking for criminal histories. In fact, quite the opposite for people that they're sending. And so who are they going to pick? I mean, really, really could be any one of us. That's actually true.
Yeah. And so I'm going to take a deep breath and pivot a little bit in terms of solution or direction. The judge, federal judge, ordered a 2-week inquiry into what the administration has in terms of their refusal to seek the return of this man. Is that going to have any weight to it, or are there going to be other judges that are going to step into this fight and push back? And because Kate, I'm not going to say I hate to say this, but the thing that's in the back of my mind is they're going to roll up on the wrong people, and then we're going to see what we don't want to see, and that's going to be gun violence from citizens. So what in your mind and observation is going to be a solution or a direction? Is it going to be in the hands of the judges or Congress?
Or Congress. I mean, so this is the hope that we can hold on to. And number one, I urge everybody to call Congress, call your representative and your 2 senators and tell them that you want them to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia home. And if you need help with the script, use 5calls.org. It's really easy. It checks your location. You pick the issue that you care about. It gives you the numbers of your representatives and a script to read. And you just call and leave a message. It's like 2 minutes to do this, okay? So we urge Congress, and I heard that like Cory Booker and a couple other senators might be going down to El Salvador. We'll see how that plays out. The other thing is that this is almost certainly going to go back up to the Supreme Court, this issue with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And the lower court judge is being very clear in her direction to the administration. The Supreme Court was less clear, right? So it was a unanimous decision, and they did say that the Trump administration needed to facilitate the return, but they left open the question of what effectuate means, right? So I think what's going to happen now is that this case is going to go back up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is going to say, we were more clear than that. You need to actually do something. And then maybe the Trump administration will comply. That's if it all works. That's if democracy functions. And then, of course, there's the breakdown where the courts are clear and the Trump administration does what it wants anyway. That's also on the table.
So then, and I had 3 questions popping in my brain at one time. I'm sure that's happened to you every now and again.
Yeah.
So Kate, I first of all, I have to come back to this and say thank you for being on the show, but thank you for, the work that you do, and you're seeing this, face forward. We love you, and we love the work that we're doing. And that's why I meant that when I said I've told everybody that listens throughout the country to send you whatever they can send you. Because you are fighting this fight day to day with sleeves rolled up and elbows deep. So I mean that when I say it, because I know that this is tough on you to witness, and particularly with, being an attorney, the rules that we have to and should be abiding by, and then our government should be, and they're breaking them daily. So I mean it when I say we got you, and we want to continue to provide you with the support, even if it's from a distance in this space. Can you repeat that? You said 5 calls. Is it 5, the digit, or the word spelled out?
It's the digit. It's the number 5calls.org. And I use it. When I'm like, I can't believe this thing that's happening, I got to call somebody. I pull up 5 calls, and the issue is there, and I click on it and I read the script just to take the thinking out of it.
Yeah, I get it. Because you get stuck. Some people aren't good at phone calls. We understand that. But having a way to go where you got a script makes it a little bit easier to make that phone call. In your days and weeks to come, and observing what's happening with this El Salvador situation and CCOT, what are you going to be paying most attention to?
Definitely going to be watching what's happening with the one court case with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. What's going to happen with the lower court order? How the Trump administration is going to respond? Whether the senators are going to go down there? Whether he's going to get back home? Because really, of everything that has occurred, this case is the test case. This is the constitutional crisis test case moment for all of us and all of the other issues to come. So watching whether the checks and balances hold up through this scenario is it. And then, of course, seeing what the Trump administration is going to be doing, if they are really going to start sending U.S. citizens abroad, and then what's going to happen with that litigation. I hope that it doesn't get there. I hope this is just a lot of bark and not bite. But, I think as we've seen so far in Trump 2.0, they're making good on a lot of these threats that they had on the campaign trail, and quickly.
Do you think that he's still, do you think that, that the gentleman is still alive? I mean, I know you don't know, but do you think that that's why they're stalling, if you will, or saying, no, we can't do anything? Because the U.S. government can do whatever it darn well wants to do when they decide to do it. So we know that let me stop. Let me just ask the question and shut up.
No, the thing is, he got withholding of removal. It's like asylum. I've done these cases. You go before a judge, you put forward evidence, you're cross-examined. It's a big trial. It's hard to prove. And so he had to prove that he was at danger of the Salvadoran gangs. He was the victim of those gangs. And so what we did was we sent him back into the prison populated with those gang members in El Salvador. So if they didn't torture him and kill him, if the guards didn't do that, then the other prisoners would have wanted to kill him. So it's really plausible that he's gone. Nobody knows, and the Trump administration has not given any evidence one way or the other of that in the court case.
Yeah, and I was saying to Henry before we came on the air that's in the back of my mind. One of the reasons that they're stalling and playing this game is because they don't know. But if they do know, they're not going to tell us, and they'll push it off. So I'm hoping that Judge Paula, is it Ennis? Is her last name? I must pronounce it.
I think it with an X.
Yeah,
Ennis is how I've been reading it in my head.
I hope that she can have some weight behind her request and inquiry of the administration. So, Kate, big hug to you. And we're doing everything we can to prop you up, and those that are in your work and doing what you're doing. We'll have you back in the near future, and maybe sooner than we think, to talk about where we are with this judge's request. But thank you for being with us this morning, and we're here for you like always.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel the support, and I appreciate it, and I'll be happy to come back anytime.
Absolutely. Be well, Kate. We'll talk with you soon. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, that was Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch. You can Google her and find ways to support her. Just send her some love. She is doing the work. You can feel it in her voice about the stress. I mean, she even laughed herself when she says, I call the number 5calls.org. That just tells you how serious someone in her role, with her skill set, her experience, is taking this. And the pause in her voice about question that I asked her, Henry, about coming after, other American citizens.